Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
Ampire.
Hey babies, hey babies, hey babies, hey babies. Hi everyone, hi everyone. We have the best team ever. Hi everyone, hi everyone.
Super Bowl.
All right, I can't do it. But I did end up with the tempered during the broadcast. Do we have to start rethinking our expectations here? Because this is a bit much and it's hard to ignore, honestly. And I don't want to go Super Bowl. I'm not ready to book Emeralds yet for Super Bowl week. But honestly, tell me a team who's playing better than them in the NFL right now. Like, tell me one team who's playing better right now than them.
There's no one playing better than them right now. And for the people that I like to say that don't know ball are saying that, oh, they haven't played anybody, whatever. I would just say, look at the scores. I don't care if you're playing bad teams or teams that aren't supposed to be good. They're killing them now. Like, that's what's happening right now, right in front of our eyes. They're not just beating teams. They're beating them handedly. Jaden Daniels didn't play the fourth quarter yesterday. That was ridiculous.
Yeah. Name that one again. The last time with 12 minutes to go, we're pulling the quarterback because the other team can't come back. Like, what planet are we on right now? I think, like, you know what? I've had a couple conversations, and I think this is where a lot of people are, where I've been, actually. This is clearly a new normal. Like, this is clearly a new normal. But everyone can't believe it. Like, and I think, when it happens once or twice, like Cincinnati, where you go, all right, that was amazing. And then they do it in Arizona and you go, all right, I like, okay, like now I'm believing. It's just hard to believe because it's been so long that we've seen our team like this. And then after this one, let's see. Myles Garrett doesn't make the stat sheet, which is unbelievable in itself. They boat race a team where their offense couldn't really do anything for a quarter. Still had 24 points on the board. I just, at this point, honestly, who's playing better than them? And God, I wish this was happening in December or January, because I think it'd be completely different. We got a long way to go. But I do think that it's worth having a conversation. Should we change our expectations? And I'll just tell you where mine were. I just want to see them competitive, building the culture they're talking about, Jaden looking the part, and hopefully playing meaningful games in December where, who knows, maybe they make the wild card. Not anymore. Like, not anymore. I mean, I don't know how you could sit here after the last 3 weeks and think that that's the ceiling for them any longer. And I think, I don't want to be the one putting expectations on it, but after what I've seen the last few weeks, this is the new normal. Maybe not by these scores, because that's unusual to win the way they've won, especially the last couple of weeks. And I doubt it'll happen next week against Baltimore, win or lose. I doubt the score is going to reflect something like that. But my feelings about what this team can be this year, I mean, this is really unprecedented to have this many different pieces, rookie quarterback, and it to be this good. So I don't know what the secret is, but the secret's out, and the adjustments that everybody's tried to make to them have not worked to this point. It's amazing.
I think that's the point I'll harp on there real quick, is no one has figured out how to stop this offense yet, which is they also rushed again yesterday for 200 yards between everyone on the ground. They're running the ball better than anyone in the league. There's probably a correlation of why the offense is running so well. And OG, did you see what the Bears did yesterday? They ran the ball, and Caleb had his best game of his career so far. Like, it's almost like they had the secret sauce from the beginning. To go back to your point, though, too, of just how they've been playing, Jaden Daniels did the cardinal sin yesterday, throw a pick in the red zone on the 1 yard line, and they were fine. Like there was no doubt that they were going to bounce back perfectly fine. And specifically to him, no panic whatsoever. I mean, if there was anything that was going to rattle him, it would be something like that. And it was a nothing burger.
I mean, to start from the beginning, the defense owned them. Cleveland had 38 yards at half, 38. They got 7 sacks, which a lot of which is Deshaun, who I'll get to in a bit, who's playing about as poorly at the position as just about anybody is right now. And considering his experience level and what he was, in Houston and pre all of the allegations and all the things that occurred, he's bad right now. I mean, like he holds on to the ball too long. There was a particular play. I'll get to it in a minute. I want to stay on the Washington defense for a minute because the Commanders had what was their most inefficient quarter in a month. And that's the weird part of the new normal is we're just not accustomed to seeing it. Like we're accustomed to seeing them score on every single drive or having this 80-something+% completion percentage. And that's just not realistic. And it wasn't sustainable. And I remember going in, yesterday going, this is a way better defense that they faced over the last couple of weeks. And just historically, it's just not going to stay the same. And then Noah Brown was out and B-Rob was banged up. And I'm like, all right, let's see now. Okay. They're missing a couple of key pieces or they're missing a couple of people they can't rely on. And oh, by the way, they're playing what it should be by the end of the year if they stay motivated, top 10 defense. So let's see what happens here. And they go 3 and out, -9 yards. Their second drive is the interception drive, but there was one big play in the drive. That was the drive where they had the pass to Terry, but every other play was either incomplete or a negative play. Every single other one of them. They went 3 and out after the next drive that they got. Cleveland kicks a field goal. And then after that, next 3 drives, field goal, touchdown. So they had, I remember our stat guy sent this to me during the broadcast. And it was something like Washington had 2 big plays. I think it was the Eckler run and the Terry pass where Jaden got away and threw that long bomb. He goes, those 2 plays accounted for 100 and something yards. The other 13 plays they had run were for like 20 total. So they couldn't really do anything. For the first time, they hit a couple of big plays here and there, but they couldn't do anything. And then all of the sudden, it just shifted. And all of the sudden, they've got 24 points up at halftime. Like, again, if this is what the new normal is, where they could go through long stretches of time where they're not effective whatsoever to turn around and have 24 up at halftime anyway. I don't know what we're looking at anymore, which is why I think you go, I just don't know what the expectation should be at this point because it is early October. But if you're capable of doing things like that, like nothing bothers you, being stopped doesn't bother you, terrible turnover in the red zone doesn't bother you, you score 24 anyway, your quarterback on the sideline at the end of a half goes, call this particular play because that guy's tired and we're going to beat him. And he does. We got the secret sauce and it's exhilarating to call. It's exhilarating to be a part of. And it's practically unreal because of our history. The last 30 years, it's practically, I think this is why there's this disbelief about it. It doesn't feel real. It's amazing.
If you want to, I guess test the timeline of like, how long is it going to take to get this fan base back involved? I think we saw it yesterday too. 4 weeks. 4 weeks of really good play by a rookie quarterback that's been unreal. Gets the fan base back. The crowd yesterday was awesome. I was in the stands. I know you called it at the stadium, but there was a different vibe around everything. And what I get on that is that I think this was the meeting of 2 teams that the vibes are right on one and are completely off on the other. And we started talking about this 2 weeks ago about how it took the defense a couple of weeks to start believing in Jaden a little bit. And now you can see it, the way that they thrive pretty much every drive at this point of like, if we bend, don't break, that guy's got our back. That was on full display yesterday. And it was actually a little bit of back and forth too. The offense was going, all right, we got a couple 3 and outs. We'll be okay. They held it down, kept a close game. And then, as you said, field goal, touchdown. Like it was over at that point. That was the game right there. And then when you play a team like Cleveland, that clearly they just are not vibing well right now. No. They do not believe in anything Deshaun Watson's doing. As you pointed out on Friday, even last night or yesterday afternoon, their body language wasn't even right in the first half yesterday. So I think that's what happens as well. When you have 2 teams like this, where one team's believing in everything and the other one believing in nothing, That's an easy win too, the way this team's going.
Yeah. So as of last week, so I'm watching them and I'm going, okay, look, because listen, I try to be careful about all this. I actually thought they were playing the best defense they had faced. And I think through the first half, they kind of were. And I think some of this carryover is just like the defense here is getting motivated by what our offense is doing. And they know that they've got their back, and they held up their end of the bargain on this one, which is why I really think defense gets the kind of the MVP of the day. And I'll get to Luvu in a minute because he was just outrageous yesterday. But like same thing's happening with Cleveland. Their defense is really good. Their defense held the last 3 teams they had faced to 54 points total. And they're losing 2 of those 3 games. And one of them is to Vegas, who isn't good. And they know that, right? Go watch the Browns last week against the Raiders. Like on run play, first, their offense extremely uncreative. But like on run plays, their receivers don't even break off the line. Like they just totally disengage from the play. Like it is a surefire sign they do not believe in what they're doing at all. And Deshaun, he holds the ball way too long. Like 7 sacks is amazing. 3 of them are him just not getting rid of the ball. Really. There was one play where he scrambled and got out of the pocket, and he was about 5 yards past the line of scrimmage, but it was a 3rd and long, I think, or a 2nd and long. I don't remember the down and distance, but it was a long. It was something in long, something in 9, something in 10, something like that. And he was about 5 yards past the line of scrimmage and about heading toward the sideline, but Sanders still just popped him. Okay, and he got up and he's pissed. Sanders still hit him. He was 3 yards in bounds when he hit him. And it was as if he didn't know where he was on the field because he started pump faking like he was going to throw the ball, but he was 5 yards past the line of scrimmage, 3 yards in bounds, and is angry that somebody hit him. Dude, that's on you, man. Like, you don't even know where you are on the field right now. He's so lost. He doesn't know where he is on the field. His incompletions are terrible. He holds onto the ball way too long. I saw this over the last couple of weeks. That's why I thought, like, if they can get a pass rush, the danger is we think the danger is our corners versus receivers of that caliber, because Cooper could kill you. He's still a top-notch receiver. Jerry Jeudy, I don't know that I buy, but he's a legitimate NFL receiver. So, like, they got real weapons over there. And I'm like, we got to blitz to get pressure on this guy because he will be very inaccurate. Not only would he be inaccurate, he just holds onto the ball way too long. So I don't want to take anything away from Washington's defense. I thought they were remarkably great. It was their best performance collectively of the year, building off of the one in Arizona, which was their best one of the year. But Watson is playing horribly right now. And I know Stefanski said he's not going to bench him, and that's their problem, and I'd rather stay talking about us. But he's a big part of what happened yesterday. He is playing the quarterback position as bad as anybody in the league right now.
To your point about that Sanders still pop on the sideline, the reaction in the stands was like, why did he take that hit? Like, why did he not just start going out of bounds? Like, it was baffling.
He didn't know where he was on the field.
Yeah, it was baffling to watch in person because like that was for nothing. It's not like the 4th down or 3rd down marker was right there either. There was no rhyme or reason behind that. I'm with you too. Like nothing's going right for him. I can't tell you something he did right yesterday. And credit to the defense for taking advantage of that, because there have been times in the past where they don't do that against a bad quarterback sometimes.
I think I said this to you on Friday, and I reiterated it on the pregame show a couple times, and I said, this game's going to be won and lost on first down on both sides. Like, Washington has been really good at getting themselves in these 2nd and 5, 2nd and 6s. I think it has a lot to do with Cliff's kind of creative play calling early in the drives. And once they're in that spot, you see what Jaden can do. He's so comfortable with everything. If it's just not there, he'll tuck it and run. He's going to get 3, 4, 5 yards. It gets him in either 3rd and short or first down. Like, they're living in that space. Cleveland actually early stunted them, got them in these 3rd and longs, 2nd and longs, and you saw they couldn't actually do much with the ball outside of the occasional escape the pocket really big play. Like, there was rare occurrence. Once things settled in, things started going their way, things changed. But you saw that. With Cleveland, the first play of the game, they ran like a waggle, and I even commented, I go, that's the first time I've seen them do something like that, because they're very, very like straightforward. We're going to run the ball right up the middle, or they just try to do a little dump off, and like they're not fooling anybody with what they're doing. They're behind the sticks constantly. And then Watson, with aforementioned all the ways that he's not playing the position very well, not handling pressure very well, taking way too long to make a decision, taking too many sacks, like, you've got him at that point. So this is a little bit on Stefanski, in my opinion. Like, because they reverted back to this where they were constantly on first down, just giving the ball to Ford or Foreman, just right up the middle, maybe getting a yard or two. They're behind the sticks every single time. You got to help this guy out because second and third and long for him right now, he can't overcome it. In fact, makes the types of plays where you're like, he's a turnover waiting to happen. So that's a little bit on them. Last week they were talking. So that's why I thought the whole time, I'm like, this is all about first down. If Cleveland does to form what they've been doing, they're going to be in 2nd and 9 the whole day and forget it with the way he's playing. Meantime, okay, this guy's the best. All right, Frankie Louvu. Holy cow. He is every bit as advertised. I'll tell you, I think I've told this before, but like I called my friends at Carolina after, we signed him. I always call around after we sign people from other teams. And everybody, I talked to 3 different people who either work for or cover that team, and they go, we have no idea why we didn't re-sign this guy. Like the Chin one, they said to me, listen, he's been injured a lot. So like, we get it. Like we think he's a really good player, but we get it. Like why they didn't re-sign him because he's just been injured so much. Louvu, they were like, this guy's the heartbeat of the locker room. He's like, you won't believe how hard he plays. Like we have no idea what they didn't like about him. And like the funniest one was one person who goes, their GM's a former linebacker, which is the weirdest part of the whole thing to not want this guy on the team. And the last 2 weeks and specifically yesterday, like when you have a team that's kind of down in the dumps like the Browns, a guy like that murders them. Like where he's just playing at a level that they're not even capable of at the moment. And he was everywhere and was amazing. I hope he gets NFC Defensive Player of the Week because I think he deserves it. 2 sacks, fumble recovery, the tackles for losses. He literally wrecked a game yesterday. He was outstanding.
No, he was the standout yesterday, period, on the defense. And not to mention, he's starting to go crazy with these locker room Haka chants as well. I heard that one yesterday, like right after the game. This guy's turning into one of the fan favorites. You're right. Get your 4 jerseys at this point. And no, he was the one that I think we're waiting for someone to shine on defense. Like, yes, Duran and John can flash, but like we've had this discussion before. How much can 2 defensive linemen really impact your game? It's just not a realistic expectation in today's NFL. This is the guy, though, now that I look at and go, oh, that's the guy that is the go-to now. When they need a clutch play or something on defense, yes, he's the guy that you need to stare at now because he was awesome yesterday. He was all over the place.
He was. All right, back to offense for a minute. Shout out Brad. Everybody eats here. This is the other part of this where I go, I don't know, like, if we should be changing our expectations for what they're going to do this year because the ball goes where it belongs to go, and it doesn't matter who the person is that's in the space that's supposed to get it. There are no favorites here, and it seems that everybody's cool with that. Like, for a couple of weeks, we didn't figure out Terry. We've now figured out Terry. Like, De'Ami Brown, we interviewed him after the game for the postgame show, and he admitted, he goes, I've had to talk to God about getting opportunities, over the last recently and over the last couple of years. He's this guy who we look at all the time and we go, he's got this opportunity. He's got the type of speed. He can make the plays down the field. He's just never given the right amount of opportunities. The second Noah Brown was out yesterday, I'm like, this guy's going to get a shot, and it's against real corners. And they called his number because they saw a good matchup and Brown said, he goes, the guy who was covering me was tired and I knew it. And I told Jaden that. And Jaden tells Clifton, they play this game of telephone, and Cliff goes, all right, fine, call it. They did. Touchdown, 41-yard touchdown. By the way, longest of Jaden's career yesterday. It's everybody, everywhere, all the time. Eckler comes in. McNichols comes in. They don't care. Who's the number 2 receiver? They said, we don't care. They're all number 2 receivers. Turns out they're right about that one. Doesn't matter who it is. 4th down plays. He's throwing the ball to Luke McCaffrey. They went for 2 4th downs again. One was like a 4th and 4. Like a 4th and 4 with an easy field goal opportunity. And nope, we're just going to go for these things. It's stunning. It really is. It's just, it's so not what they've been for such a long time. It's hard to kind of wrap your head around it because there are no favorites. Everybody's making plays. It's a different person every single week that's popping up. Jeremy McNichols has scored 3 touchdowns in 2 weeks. He had 1 in his career. De'Ami Brown's wondering if he's ever going to play. Ask for his number to gets called. He does. 41-yard touchdown. Jaden's playing Superman all the time, even when he's not perfect. He's not perfect this week, but they win going away again. They score the most points against this defense, and this defense has given up all year. They've scored over 30 3 straight weeks for the first time in forever. I could read the crazy stats again if you want, like not since this and not since that and not. This is unbelievable. This is the all-time joyride. I've never seen any team flip around like this. I guess maybe I'd like to talk to people in Houston. Did they feel this way early with Stroud? But I don't think it was like this. Like I really don't. Where you're literally asking the question: Is this the best team in the NFL right now?
Houston doesn't even really get to say this though. Houston's usually in the playoffs though. Like they make the playoffs fairly often in that division. So I don't even think it's the same feeling as it is here, where it's just been so bad so long here. Whereas there, they make the playoffs all the time because that division is so weak and they had a really good defense for the longest time. As far as this goes here though, like I think I had just come to this conclusion yesterday sitting in the stands. Like if we were on Punk'd, this is how Punk'd would be. Like, oh yeah, your football team is this good. And then like Ashton Kutcher's going to come out and be like, no, none of this is true. Like that's how it feels right now. Like things are going so well. It feels like it's an actual joke about how well things are going right now. And once again, we haven't even mentioned it yet. Jaden didn't have his best game, but he had like 2 cartoonish dodges where two different plays. A guy is running at him unprotected and he just steps out of the way and runs up the field. Like those are the cartoonish ones that I can't handle because I'm like, you can see it happening in real time. You're like, he's going to dodge that guy. And he does. And the guy like falls over in the backfield. I mean, it's ridiculous what they're doing.
Here's this week's ridiculous things that have been said. Jaden Daniels is the first player in NFL history to have 1,000 passing yards and 250 rushing yards in their first 5 career games. Washington has recorded 3 rushing touchdowns in 3 consecutive games for the first time in franchise history. Washington is the second team in NFL history to have at least 3 rushing touchdowns in 4 of their first 5 games, joining the 1954 San Francisco 49ers. Washington is the first team since 1970 to score 150-plus points in their first 5 games while starting a rookie quarterback. Washington has won 2 consecutive games by 20 or more points for the first time since 1997. This is every week. Like, I make fun of it every week. It should be a bit. I'm going to go tell the Commanders, it should be a bit. Here's today's ridiculous historical stats because it's every week since World War II, since 1991, since 1998, since this, since that. Here are things that only the 1973 Bills did. Here's the only thing that the 1954 49ers did. It's ridiculous. Like, they're rewriting everything. Like, the story's being written in front of us. It's, what is this? The New Testament? What is going on here? Like, they're literally rewriting everything in real time. And I keep thinking this can't continue. Like, historically, this would be, this is a movie. This isn't real. Like, this is what a scriptwriter writes. This is a Rocky fight. Nobody gets punched that much in a real fight and lives to talk about it or wins. Like, this doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. They're rewriting record books week by week by week with a team that didn't know each other as of 6 months ago. It's crazy.
Like I said, we're getting punked. That's the only explanation for all of this. Ashton Kutcher comes out next week at the Ravens game and says, "Oh, this team doesn't exist." That's what we're going for at this point.
Yeah, and the last one, I just want to mention this one from the game again, and I think it's worth reiterating. Myles Garrett did not make the stat sheet. Here's the reigning NFL Defensive Player of the Year, who last week had 2 sacks and 7 quarterback pressures. He has the most quarterback pressures in the NFL this year. He already had 4 sacks, playing injured a little bit, to be fair to him. But, okay, so here's now, 2 weeks in a row. Not that I would put Budda Baker on Myles Garrett's status list, but he's a really, really, really good player. He made a couple of plays, but nothing impactful whatsoever. You saw what the score was. Here's maybe the best defensive player in the NFL, complete, literal non-factor, and many times he's being blocked by a rookie tackle who was a 3rd-round pick. What is going on? I saw somebody tweeted out, it's only the second time in his career that he didn't make the stat sheet.
Wow. It's unreal.
It is unreal. It's all unreal. It's all too good. It's all too good. So I don't know. Oh, here's the other one. 1 for 13 on third downs, Cleveland. And the one was at the end of the game when the score was already settled. Like it didn't matter. So during any period of time when it mattered, they couldn't convert a third down conversion. Second week in a row, they've stopped the team on a 4th and 1, albeit in both cases, I don't know what the other team was thinking whatsoever. On a 4th and 1, Kyler Murray dropped back to pass. And this week, they brought in Jameis Winston to do a pitch left to Deontay Foreman. Are you all nuts? Like, what kind of play call is that?
No, that looks like a team that's unserious about football on that side.
Right.
Which is when you play this team, that's a buzzsaw situation.
It's so weird. Like I have to do these interviews after the game and I'm trying not to be giddy. Like, how do you talk to these people seriously when they're doing these things? It's like ridiculous. It's like asking David Copperfield, how did you move the Statue of Liberty? And he's like, and you know he's not going to answer the question, but you're asking it because you're just in disbelief.
I should have taken video of how the fan base was acting after the game yesterday.
Yeah.
I was in a whole different world walking out of that stadium yesterday. I think it's everybody. No one knows how to act right now.
No, nobody knows how to act. Nobody knows how to act. Everybody just wants to take their clothes off and streak around the city. Like nobody knows what to do.
Borderline, that was what was happening yesterday. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Do you know how many autographs I signed yesterday, Callow? And I'm not kidding. Like there was one. I'll tell you this story maybe tomorrow because I want to get to the other NFL games. But there was one at the end of the game yesterday that CJ and London were even like, "Wow, everybody likes you now." Like, what's going on? Winning changes everything for everybody. It's nuts. All right, let me take a quick break. We'll get into the other NFL games next. Bram watch the show. ESPN 630 Sports Capital.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check you have the tickets in your wallet first before you drive 2 hours to the big game. Seriously, you had one job. Now the closest you'll get to the 50-yard line is parking lot D. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
All right, welcome back. Let's talk about the other 31 teams that aren't the best team in the NFL that played in week 5 yesterday.
Why?
I know. That's true. It's a good point.
Cares?
Why? Who cares? You're all second place. Who cares? Let's see. We had our first London game of the year. I'm going to call this London Fog for Raj. As the Jets, he was actually bad. This was one of the few games I got to see most of because it started at 9:30 yesterday, so I was watching it during the pregame show. He threw 2 terrible interceptions and a third that I wouldn't say was his fault, but it wasn't a really great choice. So it's on him. Their defense is good enough. They got way down, but their defense, again, kept them in the game. They got a top 5 defense. All right, Raj, I did hear after the game, at least he took responsibility and said something to the effect of that's not up to my standard and I can't do that. But he looked the part of a 40-year-old who was making some bad decisions on an offense that should be better than it is, but it's not. And they're going full Jets with that team right now. And, listen, maybe Minnesota is real too. They're probably sitting there having a little disbelief conversation like we are. Like, can you believe we're 5-0 right now? But for the Jets, which I think is the bigger story here, because they got everything there for them to win, and they're just not. And even at 2-3, the wins they've had, neither one of them have been impressive. So, old Raj, wonder what he's thinking right now on his flight back from London.
This is one, though, that I can think we all kind of called. Like, if this was any other London game and it's not Minnesota, I would have been interested to see what the Jets do here. The Jets still, to me, are middle around 500 and see if they go on a run at the end of the season. I'm still not worried about them because of Rodgers. With the Vikings, though,
if they're like 500 by the middle of the season, there's still a good chance that they'll turn it on.
Exactly.
Sure.
So as long as the ship doesn't go down, essentially, I'm not worried about them. The Vikings, though, the story of the first 5 weeks, though, is their defense. Their defense is so phenomenal. Flores has clearly turned things around there, and they scored yesterday on defense. It's going that way for them. So for the Vikings, I'm just most impressed by their defense.
They made a couple of signings that have turned out to be really, really good for them. This Van Ginkel guy's a very good player. I saw him with Miami. He's one of those with the Dolphins where I'm like, I'm not really sure why they let him go. He's like one of those type of players where you're like, why don't you want him? He's not going to break the bank. Like, he's just a very smart, good player. I don't know why you wouldn't want him, but whatever. He made a big play for them, and they showed the replay of it where he goaded Rodgers to throw it right to him. It was really amazing. Let's see. I feel good for the Bears fans who are in the same boat as us that have been waiting forever for the Magic Man to show up. And yesterday they got a little taste of it because Caleb wants back in the conversation. He had his first big day as a pro. I don't know if they're passing it off as well. That was Carolina, and maybe that's how they're thinking about it. But I think for them, because they've gone through this first month of, oh God, did we pick the wrong guy? Not that we got the wrong guy, but Superman seems to be the number 2 pick right now, and our guy isn't quite ready to join the Hall of Justice. But yesterday was a good sign for them. I still believe, and I'm rooting for him. He's a local. I'm really rooting for him. I do hope that we have a situation where he gets really good, and we have a bunch of games with the Bears over the next 5-10 years that profile these two against one another. I think it'd be a great storyline. And I think he just instinctually is such a great player that it's going to come around for him if his attitude and personality don't get in the way, because that seems to be the real, guiding force for him. Jaden is cool, calm, collected. Everybody just kind of loves him, seems to get along with everybody. Caleb probably needs a little maintenance and ego stroking, but that's okay. Like, if he ends up being really good, then that's just his personality. And yesterday, for some reason, I was just happy for him that he showed off that he's very, very, very capable of this.
I need to correct you in my nerd knowledge here. It's Justice League, not the Hall of Justice. But I'll go with.
Well, when I was a kid and the Superman, the Super Friends cartoon was on, it was the Hall of Justice that they were in.
Are you sure?
So I am correct. It's just the very old version of it. That's all.
I don't know. We'll have to fact check that. But to this point, yeah, I'm happy for Caleb that he finally did something. Bears fans are kind of dead to me after last week, though, because they were just talking so much trash and making all of these excuses up for Caleb when he, wasn't good. And here's what I'm going to say. That's not a team that's good. Call me when Caleb beats a good team. That's what I'm going to go with. So I'm going to use the same excuse that they use.
From Wikipedia, hold please. Hold please. I'm going to show you this. Yes. Here you go. This is Wikipedia. Has got from the comics. This is the Hall of Justice, and I know you can kind of barely see it, but that is the headquarters of the Super Friends. So while I might be old, I don't have dementia yet, and I'm aware that the Hall of Justice exists. I know in your little world that the Hall of Justice doesn't exist, but the OGs know. So I'm right.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Fine.
All right. Okay. Let's see. What else? Oh, how about Joe Burrow saying we're not of championship caliber? So I'll get to this later this week. I think Washington is playing in this new normal, their first, what we would call big game this weekend, because they're taking on the Ravens. It's going to be total show me game. And, this is one of those where they go, here's 2 teams that are probably going to be playing late in January because surprise, surprise, that's who we are these days. We already had one, what I called a big game. I just don't think we knew what we knew about the team, and they did what they did on Monday night. It kind of started it all. That play to Terry, I think, is going to go down as the beginning, like the literal beginning of the moments that we're going to have. For the Bengals, I remember going into it going, if you can't stop the run and you can't really run the ball, how good are you really? And Joe Burrow tried everything in his bag of tricks to keep his team alive. And I think what he's acknowledging without saying it out loud is their defense isn't good enough. I mean, how does he throw for 330 against the Ravens, 5 touchdowns at home, and they lose? It's a little on your.
It wasn't even just that, too. Their overtime field goal attempt. Did you see what happened there? Instead of trying to.
They got very conservative for a very long field goal, albeit that kicker's really good. and I'll hear them out on it, but they got really conservative for not for a 30-yard field goal, for a 53-yard field goal.
They got in range and went 3 straight runs. I'm sorry. We're seeing it more and more now. You have to go for the dagger, at least try for the dagger once or twice.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they had to chuck it down the field, but to go full run, and then hope that he makes that. Like, those are the moments that make or break your season. And the Ravens kick back and win the game.
Let's see. Red zone specials. Miami beat the Patriots yesterday in what I think we predicted, because they don't have any offense right now, and the Patriots really don't, 15-10. Denver beat the Raiders, but the Raiders aren't very good, and they're probably going to trade Devontae Adams soon, sooner rather than later. I did like Max Crosby coming out and going, shut your face about me wanting to leave here. And he looks like a Pirate. So, I mean, why would he go anywhere? And Jacksonville, not surprisingly, I've just watched this league too long. They were due to win. They did. Trev threw for over 300. They beat the Colts. Those are two middling teams. That's what they are.
Yeah, I would say this, though. It was, once again, Joe Flacco in a close game against them. If I'm Indianapolis, I'm dangling Flacco out there for some team, because he can clearly run an offense.
I do think in Cleveland today, you do ask the question, what were we thinking not bringing him back?
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
Why in the world would we not bring him back? Let's see. Texans top the Bills, so that's a good marquee win for them. So if they're going to live up to all this promise of we're going to be different this year, we're actually going to take a run, then you got to win games like this. It was at home, and they did. Buzzer-beating field goal. Bills have now lost a couple in a row against playoff caliber teams, so we'll see how they circle the wagons this time.
Those new Texans alternates, 10 out of 10. Those are fantastic.
Early story of the NFC this year. What happened to the Niners and the Rams? 2-3 and 1-4. Both could claim injuries. Both would be accurate to claim some injuries there. Thought the Niners were a little too built to fail. And I'm sorry, injuries are not the reason why you blow a huge second half lead at home to the Cardinals. And that blowout win by the Commanders last week is looking better and better by the day. The Cardinals almost won in Buffalo, did win in San Francisco, boat raced the Rams, and weren't even competition for us a week ago. So once again, who's got it better than us, Jim? Nobody. Nobody's got it better than us. I don't know what's up with them. I need to kind of deep dive a little bit of how they blew that against them. And with the Rams, they lost to a good team, Green Bay. They are really beat up, but I just trust McVay a little bit more than this, and I'm surprised at 1-4. If they said all these injuries, 2-3, they're hanging in there, but 1-4, that's a pretty big hole, and it doesn't feel like they're going to get out of it. Like, if I were to guess of one of the two to get out of it, it'd probably be San Francisco, but I don't think it's going to be both of them.
I think we talk about the Rams, and I forget who said it, but like the most under the radar retirement that we didn't make a big deal out of was Donald retiring in LA there. I mean, that's a heart and soul type of guy that maybe that's what they're missing. They're missing some kind of leadership that they haven't had before. That's what's screaming to me, because I'm with you. I thought McVay would keep this thing on the tracks, and he just hasn't. And they did keep it close yesterday. They did almost come back, but almost doesn't get you anything in this.
That's right. I think the surprise one of the day was the G-Men scoring one in Seattle. No Malik Neighbors yesterday, so I just kind of wrote it off. I think I said to you on Friday, I wouldn't be surprised. I think the Giants are playing really competitively, but without Neighbors, I didn't know where they were going to get offense from, and they found it. This is a confounding loss for Seattle, probably one that they're having a tough time figuring out. That's a really tough place to play. The trip there is, I think it's harder to fly there than it is to fly to London to go play them. It's an exhausting trip when you get there. Their crowd is uniquely great. The conditions typically aren't great. Geno's been off the charts actually this year, and off of I don't know, maybe off of that loss the other night where they were back and forth, that they just took one for granted. And I've said this for a while. I think you agree. I think Daboll's a very good coach. Yep. I don't think they have a great roster, but I think he's a very good coach. And, the Danny Dimes revenge tour just picked up a little bit of steam with a win there. That's a big win for them.
This is why no one believes in Seattle. They always have a loss like this, where you're like, this is like, we're waiting for you guys to put someone away or stack up some of these wins. And instead they have the Giants come in there and beat them. This is why I always doubt kind of picking Seattle in these situations.
The disappointment of the day for us is Cowboys winning. After, Lawrence out and Parsons out, I thought for sure that Pittsburgh would figure out a way.
I called it over here.
Off. And that's the disappointment of the day from our perspective, that they won that. I'll give them credit. They walked out after the delay, won the toss and said, give us the ball, and then went down and scored, which I thought was a big deal. I do think, man, I like Justin Fields a lot. I really do. I still think it's limited with him. I think they know this. I'm starting to feel like Russ will get an opportunity to play probably sooner rather than later, the second he can go. And I do actually think they should take a look at it because of their good start. They're in position to be in the playoffs again. So I think it would be right for them to put Russ out there, see how it goes, and then make a choice for the November, December run, because they'll probably be 500 or better. And then they'll figure out who the right quarterback is for them. But he makes a few too many mistakes. A dynamic player. I love his athleticism, but it's just not there consistently enough. So I think that they need to give Russ an opportunity for sure.
I called this one from a mile away. I knew this game would be close, and give me Dallas to come back and try to win a game at the end over Pittsburgh. Like, I'm not saying Dallas is amazing at that, but as you just said, Justin Fields can't lead a comeback to win a game, essentially. As soon as I saw it was close last night, I knew Dallas was going to win this. I called this from a mile away, so I'm not surprised.
I was hoping we'd catch them and they'd get another loss. It would give a little more separation for the Commanders and give them a little bit more of a pad, to like work with as we kind of go through the season. But oh well. And I'll give McCarthy credit. I mean, that's a lot of people missing to go win on the road in bad conditions under very unusual circumstances with that storm last night. Like, I'll give him credit. Credit where credit is due. Laugh at them all you want, Stephen A. That was a gutty win by them last night to go win up there. It says a lot about them and how they're coached. All right, we'll be right back. Very much the show. ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. We didn't get to this last week because it happened really fast, but the Orioles are keeping Brandon Hyde on, which I thought that was an interesting. They didn't even let that fester for like a minute. They had a very disappointing summer. They had a very disappointing ousting from the playoffs very quickly again. Their vibes and juju were like the Cleveland Browns throughout the entire summer. They just couldn't get out of their own way. I think they're too talented for what they've put out there. And I think it was an opportunity lost. And there's 8 million reasons why. And I'm not sitting there blaming the manager, but something's actually got to change if you want change. So I thought I was kind of looking at him going, deserves it or not, I have a funny feeling that they're going to feel like they have to do something different here, but they've chosen not to. And maybe, maybe he's just really, really, really well liked and they don't believe it's his fault. Or maybe the owner is saying, I just got here and I don't want to do anything that looks like I'm impatient. I don't know. We'll see.
To me, this just screamed that Mike Elias pins this one on the players more than he does on the manager. And he probably feels he can make a change there instead of, changing a manager that has been really good. And Brandon Hyde, you got to remember, did win manager of the year last year. So it's not like he's, hasn't won the awards and all that. I would say this, though. This always screams to me in hockey when a guy doesn't get fired. It does mean you could just fire him mid-season next year. Like, that always screams to me a fail-safe emergency button that if things start going real sideways next year, you can get rid of him for whoever, I guess you would want to, and then hope that you change the tide again.
Okay. Well, then this move also says to me that if they don't do something profound in the winter, like get a veteran, spend some money, maybe flip a couple of these precious prospects that you have, then I actually don't know what your plan is to rectify this. So this reads to me like that is what's going to happen because they have to symbolically do something here. Like you have to go pay for a player to come in here, a veteran to come in here. As you put it, you're Jason Worth. Like they got to go get somebody in here. And I do think they need to move a couple of these prospects. I think part of this also might be there is a logjam of too many players. Everybody wants to know what their role is. Nobody wants to sit there and go, when am I going to get my chance? Clear it up. Clear the runway, guys. Clear it up. You have all these good players. Make trades. Get veterans in at spots that you feel weak. but clarify this and let's find out who your guys are moving forward. I appreciate all the talent collection, but there might be part of this that's going on where everyone's going, like, what is, like we're playing Squid Game. Like who's staying here and who's not, The
other part of this is who's good right now on your roster. So I would start looking at those positions in your minor leagues of you don't know what some of those guys are. Trade them while you don't know what they are because people are going to give you more for them. Start looking at it like that. There are certain positions that are set here. Jackson Holliday's got a position. Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rushman. Like there are some of them that it's like there are the untouchables. Let's talk about the other people. I want to mention my crew, the Spirit, who did lose to Orlando, who is yet to lose a match this season, which is unbelievable. They're 3 matches away from going undefeated in a regular season, and they're going to win the Shield because they've moved 10 points out of Washington with only 3 matches left. I think they must have already secured it, right? They've already secured it. They actually did an on-field celebration after the game yesterday. Yeah. So, they did. Yep. So Washington was missing 6 of their top 11 players. So this is not a surprise that they actually lost. And all of a sudden, they're tied for second in the league, and Kansas City's only 1 point back, and they're unhealthy right now. So the worst they're going to be is 4th. So they're in the playoffs. They're going to be in the top 4, and they're going to have a home match for sure. But like where in that top 4 is now very much in question. So I don't know. You can't rush people back, and they're being very careful about it. And I saw a quote from their coach last week who said, we're not rushing Trinity Rodman back until she's ready, which reads to me like they're going to wait as long as possible because they're in the playoffs. So they're going to wait as long as possible. But, this is skidding in a way that I think was a little surprising because of health. But hopefully they'll get healthy soon and get back to the form that they were in pre all of these injuries the last few weeks. If it makes you feel a little bit better, Trinity Rodman isn't hurting so bad that she was at the watch party last night down at Navy Yard. So, okay. No, she was at least out and about interacting with the fans. So hopefully that's a good sign too, that she's not hurting. I'd like to see a rematch with Orlando with all of their players. With the deck. Yep. And then let's see, because that match means kind of nothing to me. Like they've had too many people out, and it was on the road, so whatever. All right, last thing, we got Chiefs and Saints tonight, playa. If I trusted the Saints more, I would full on pick an upset here, if you even call it an upset, because the Chiefs have kind of barely won every game that they played, and I know New Orleans can score with them, but they're not trustworthy. They're not trustworthy against good teams. So this is a toss-up to me. I am actually, my gut is leaning New Orleans here, but I don't trust them enough to actually say I think they're going to win. And I don't like picking against Mahomes because even when they're not functioning all that well, they win anyway most of the time. I also, if I'm New Orleans, I don't love a week of where's Travis Kelce? They don't use him anymore. You could it is a guarantee that guy's going to have 8 for 135 tonight because it's out there and they're saying it. That's what's going to happen. So I'll take the Chiefs reluctantly, but obviously I think if you've watched them this year, they're in a lot of close games. This probably will also be close, and New Orleans can score. So I think if you even call it an upset, I wouldn't be surprised. I would go Chiefs here, and I don't even know what the number is, but I know Vegas. The number's probably high on the over-under. Take the under on this one. The Chiefs' defense is better than people give it credit for. New Orleans is inconsistent. I'll take the Chiefs and the under, whatever it is. All right, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow. Bram wants to show ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.